We've already determined that running a medical billing business and working full-time can be overwhelming because you have so many responsibilities. However, you still can thrive in your medical billing business by working smarter and not harder. We're on day 17 of our series, From Medical Biller to Medical Billing Business Owner, Balancing Work and Entrepreneurship. And I will be sharing with you my top productivity hacks that will help you streamline your workflow, stay organized, and not burn out. So most importantly, when it comes to productivity hacks, is for you to remember that time is your most valuable asset. Now, because we're working full-time and running our medical billing business, we need to make sure that we use our time wisely. So first, let's start off with prioritizing communication. So when it comes to dealing with your clients, you want to make sure that you are always in constant communication with the providers and with their staff. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to talk to them all through the day. Again, you're working full time, so you don't have that type of time. But I mean that you want to make sure that you keep in touch. You just don't stay long periods of time without communicating with them. Sometimes you might have the different type of providers in which we spoke about in the other videos, where some providers want your time all the time and others just kind of just don't call you, don't talk to you, don't really care. They just want you to do your work. And you kind of have to find that balance, because for those providers who want to talk to you all the time and you can't talk to them all the time, you still want to make sure that they feel like you are communicating with them. And then for those who don't really talk to you too much, you want to make sure that you communicate with them so they can know that they can get in contact with you when they need to get in contact with you. So prioritizing when you're going to communicate with providers and with their staff is very important. So for example, let's talk about emails. Now, when it comes to emails for myself, I've said this several times before, I don't check my email 3, 4, 5 times a day. I check my email once a day and sometimes twice a day, but I don't go beyond 2 times a day. This is because you can get caught up in emails. You can get caught up in answering questions and dealing with stuff and giving yourself more work when you start to check your email often. So again, I just make sure that I check my email at least, again, 1 time a day, the most twice. Then within the email system, I would make sure that, let's say I go through my emails, I have 15 emails for that particular day. I would go through those emails and see what's junk. You know, people like to send you junk all the time. So you click, 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 delete. Make sure you delete out the junk that you don't need. Then you go through the ones that you know are important from people that you think you're interested in, and you open them. And you try to deal with them at that time. So most of the times what we like to do is open an email and say, okay, I'll deal with that later. And then later either never comes, or, it starts to pile up and you don't get to the email. So try to deal with that email when you can, right then in particular. But if for some reason you cannot deal with it right then I put it back as unread, because I want to make sure when I open that email again the next day that I know that that is an email that is of priority because it was sent, maybe a day or 2 before, and I need to deal with it. Now, I don't want to do this often where I would read an email and then I would put it as unread and then, keep doing that. You don't want to do that. If you leave it as read, then you might skip over it and then you won't deal with it. And it's in the main inbox, so now you're not sure if you dealt with it or if you didn't deal with it. The other productivity hack that I do when it comes to emails is that after I have read it and dealt with it, I put it in a specific folder. So I have different folders. I have folders for my clients, each client's name. I have folders for administrative things. I have folders for invoices. I have a lot of folders. So just like you would if you were actually putting these things in a tangible live folder, I put them in folders in my email. So when I'm looking back for them, I can look in that particular folder within my email and find them easily. Something else I also do is I pin emails. So emails that are really important. Maybe they have information that I keep having to go back to. Maybe you have numbers or passwords or whatever it is. And I think it's really important. Within that folder, I would pin that email to the top. So I might have 2 or 3 emails that are really important or I think are really important. And so I make sure to pin it to the top. Now, of course, you can search your email if you know specifically what you're looking for. You can put a term in and find it. But I notice in my Microsoft Office account, it sometimes doesn't find the emails like I like them to when I try to search them. So instead of looking, trying to find it, I would pin that email to the top so that I know these are the first set of emails I will see within that folder and then move on from there. The second hack is to create routines. Now, I know that you guys have heard me say several times to make sure that you have a routine. And for me at the beginning, I kind of fought having routines for whatever reason. I felt like I didn't want to be enclosed in a box and, I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. When you have a routine, that doesn't mean that you can't change things up a little bit. It doesn't mean that you're stuck in doing that thing all the time. But what it does mean is that it helps you to have some type of order, stay organized, and be able to know what you're going to do without having to think so hard about what you have to do. So for example, my routine for a particular client is to do rejections and tasks on one day, to do insurance payments and patient payments on another day, and to do claims and denials follow-ups on another day. Now, I can do it in this way because this client is pretty small. They don't have that many patients or claims. And I have found in working with them for a little while that this works for me. So I know on Mondays I do this, on Wednesdays I do this, on Fridays I do this. I know what I'm going to do without even thinking about it. And if for some reason I get caught off guard, maybe I get home from work late and I don't start it in my time block that I'm supposed to start it in, I still know that I'm supposed to do it because it is a routine that I have. The same way when you wake up in the morning, your routine might be, wake up, brush your teeth, eat, bathe, put on your clothes, fix your hair, whatever your routine is. You're doing it so much that you don't even really think about it. And if for some reason you get thrown off guard and you say, brush your teeth, and then your child, starts talking to you, so you get thrown off. When you come back to that routine, you know that you have brushed your teeth, so then the next thing would be blah, whatever it is that I just said. But you know your routine, so you don't have to decide then, oh, what is it that I have to do? You already know what it is that you need to do. This really helps you when it comes to doing your work and doing them on time, consistently, making sure that they get done. Again, time is of the essence. Time is very important when it comes to being productive in your medical billing business. And one of the most important productivity hacks that I can give you is to make sure that you write down, put in your computer, put on video, however you want to do it, standard operating procedures. Now, if you don't know what standard operating procedures are, it's basically a way that your company does something. Now, some companies have standard operating procedures that you know about, you have to use, you use every day. And then there are a lot of companies that don't have them or don't use them, or they have a generic set of standard operating procedures, which is SOPs for short. So I'll say SOPs from now. But you need to have some form of SOPs in your medical billing business. And this is whether or not you have employees, plan to get employees, whatever. It is important that you have it so that you don't recreate the wheel every time you do a specific task or duty. SOPs can be a lot because you may have a lot of tasks to do. You may have a lot of things to do throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year. And if you decide to do your SOPs all at once, it can get very overwhelming. So what I would suggest is to do your SOPs slowly, especially because you're just starting out with your medical billing business. this is the perfect time for you to get your SOPs done. And you can slowly do things. So if you don't have any clients at the present time, and then you finally, you get a client. So now you're trying to figure out how to onboard this client. This is your time to write down those SOPs or make a video to show what you did to onboard this client. One thing to remember is that your SOPs will not stay the same. So don't think that when you do it the first time that this is what it's going to have to be. Most of the times you're going to have to change up things. Maybe the way you onboarded this client, you liked the first couple of steps, but the last 2 steps you didn't like. So you have to change that. But the point of it is that you're setting standards and rules and ways to do things, so you don't have to continue to recreate the wheel each time you get a new provider. You can use what you already have and expand on it and change it and, just fix it to where it may then become what you want, how you want it. And if for some reason you decide to hire somebody, you can have them look at that SOP for onboarding, and they can do it without even having to ask you a question. The SOPs that your company has now can be a guide for you. Now, if you don't work as a biller, or if you do, it still can be a guide because it can help you figure out what SOPs are, how they work, and like I said, it can just be kind of like a template for what to do. But in the long run, SOPs will really help structure your business, how to do things, doing them consistently and the same way all the time, instead of recreating the wheel and wasting time figuring out how you did it before and what you did. And again, time is very important, and you want to make sure that you use your time wisely each and every time. So I hope these 3 productivity hacks will help improve the efficiency of your medical billing business. But what about your contracts? Contracts are the foundation for building strong relationships in your medical billing business, and I'll be speaking about that in my next video. So I'll see you over there.